The Boy Who Talked to Animals. The boy was like a young deer, all watchfulness and wonder, moving through the Ozark woods as though he belonged more to them than to the rough shack where his people lived. Timothy Rathbone was 8 years old, and already he carried the silence of deep places, the knowing of creatures who live close to the earth. The Rathbone place sat in a hollow between Pineville and Stella, where the road was little more than wheel ruts and good intentions. The shack had a tin roof that drummed when it rained. Malachi worked when work could be found, breaking his back for other men's land. Rachel kept a kitchen garden that fought the rocky soil, tended chickens, milked 2 cows, and fed the lean hogs. They were people who understood hardship the way the oak understands the axe. Timothy had no brother, no sister, no companion but the woods themselves. Old Martha Keener lived a mile away and spoke to no one. So, the boy learned the language of wind in the pines, the vocabulary of bird calls at dawn, and the grammar of flowing water. He knew where the deer bedded in the tall grass, where the fox denned beneath the limestone, and where turkeys roosted when evening purpled the sky. He knew the raccoon's washing place at Big Sugar Creek, and could find the ancient snapping turtle in its deepest pool. Once a month, if they had eggs or butter to trade, the Rathbones came to Pineville. The town was small, with a square of packed earth, an old courthouse, and benches under elm trees. While his parents did their business, Timothy sat quietly, and children came to him like bees to clover, drawn by something they could not name. The boy spoke of animals as other children spoke of playmates. There was no childish cruelty in his talk, no boasting, only a matter-of-fact intimacy. He told how the doe and her spotted fawn near the spring had spoken of the panther passing in the darkness. He told how the crows, black and clever, warned 3 days ahead about the coming storm. He told how the old turtle in Big Sugar Creek, his shell worn smooth as creek stones, remembered the great flood of 1898, and how the world had turned to rushing water. The children gathered close, eyes wide with listening. Billy Patterson, the blacksmith's boy, was 10 and thought himself too big for stories, but he could not help asking, what did the crows say? What words? Timothy's eyes went distant, as though he heard something beyond the present. They said the wind was wrong. It smelled of iron and creek water mixed together. They said to get the chickens in and check the roof, for the rain would be a gully washer. 3 days later, the storm came, as the crows had foretold. Sarah Mackenzie, whose father kept the general store, asked, how could the turtle remember from so far back? Turtles live long, Timothy said. Simple as breathing. He was already old when the water rose over the banks and took the bridge at Pineville. He rode the flood all the way to Elk River before he found safe ground. He said it was like the world itself was moving, and only he stayed still. The children shivered, half from delight and half from fear. Most grown folks dismissed it as fancy, but some things gave doubters pause. Timothy foretold Mr. Patterson's mare would foal early, and she did. He spoke of a weasel before birds were killed, and there it was. Old Mr. Hanson said, the boy has a gift. The old Indians knew such people. Reverend Morse called it nonsense, though he could not explain the boy's knowing. I was 9 that spring, the doctor's son, and I lived in a white house on Main Street with a full pantry and shoes that fit. I had everything Timothy lacked, save one thing. I could not hear what the animals said. I wanted desperately to believe him. If Timothy could speak with deer and crows and ancient turtles, then perhaps the world was not so lonely after all. Perhaps there was a language older than human words, truer and more essential. One Saturday in July, when the Ozark heat pressed down thickly, I followed Timothy from the square. He walked toward the woods. Where are you going? He turned those knowing eyes on me. The fox has kits under the limestone ledge. One is failing. She asked me to come. Can I come? If you're quiet. We walked without talking, Timothy leading. The woods received us into green shade, oak and hickory overhead, dogwood flowering below. Cicadas sang, and a woodpecker hammered above. Timothy stopped where limestone pushed up through the forest floor, creating shadows beneath. He sat on the leaf mold, and I sat beside him, my heart beating hard. We waited as the heat pressed close. The sweat trickled down my back. I thought of cold water and my book at home. I was ready to leave when Timothy lifted one finger. The fox came. She was red as clay, beautiful and wild, with a white bib and eyes like honey. She looked at Timothy, and something passed between them that needed no speech. It was older than words. Timothy made a sound low in his throat that was not quite human. The vixen's ears pricked forward. She answered with her own chittering. They spoke for perhaps a minute. Then the fox vanished into her den. "The kit will live," Timothy said. She was worried, but he is growing stronger. She thanked me. I wanted to ask how he knew, if loneliness had taught him to imagine what he needed, but I did not. I could not. What did they say about us? Timothy was quiet. When he spoke, his voice carried too much sadness. They say we are dangerous and we take without gratitude. We have forgotten the old agreements. He picked at his worn trousers. But some of us still remember. Some still listen. We walked back through woods gilded by the low sun. I told no one what I had seen. Some things are not meant for words. Timothy kept coming to town and kept telling his stories. Some believed, some did not. The years, as they must surely do, passed. I went to college and returned with my own practice. I heard Timothy had gone deeper into the woods, living alone up on Big Sugar Creek. People said he had gone wild, and maybe he had, but I thought he had simply gone home. There are some people who belong more to the woods than to towns, more to wild things than to their own kind. They are born with one foot in our world and one in a world someplace older. We build houses and churches, trying to wall out wilderness, but people like Timothy keep the doors open. They remember the old speech. Perhaps that was what mattered most. Perhaps Timothy Rathbone understood something essential that the rest of us had lost. After that day, when the crows called in a certain way, I paid attention, and I never forgot the fox's eyes, one living soul acknowledging another. Some truths are meant to be believed, whether we can explain them or not.